still treat them like I always have, with love and kindness. Kill your enemies with kindness. Kill your enemies' hate with love. You feel what I'm saying? Like, there's no point in, Jesus said it himself, those who live by the sword die by the sword. In other words, people, like, if you're fighting against your enemies, like, what's the point? What's the point? That's not what Jesus taught us. There's times where I'm not saying I never had those, impulses to take revenge on people that have hurt me. I'm not saying that I didn't have those strong emotions of anger towards someone. You know what I'm saying? Where I just was so enraged with what they did to me and how bad they betrayed me, and then I became them. I became them. I became their character. Hate. Pure hate. I hated them because they did me wrong, because they hated me first. Like, what the heck is going on here? Like, what the heck is that? That's why Jesus said what he said, love your neighbor as you love thyself. One of the greatest commandments of all. And most of the time, it takes a lot in you to do that. It really does. Unfortunately, it takes a lot in you. It takes a high level of acknowledgement and humbleness, and sometimes you have to take the initiative to apologize first. And that's a lot for a lot of people in this generation now. In this generation, everybody wants to be justified. They want their justice, for what that person did. However, God is saying, okay, take a good look at yourself first. You're no better than them, even though they did you wrong. Sometimes God just puts the mirror like this to you. He gives you the mirror and he says, yeah, he did you wrong, but look at yourself first. Let's be real here, y'all. Let's be real. Let's cut the massaging. Let's cut massaging people's egos. Let's just be real with it. Sometimes God gives you the mirror and says, look, you are angered at this person and you are resenting this person, but first take a look at yourself. You think that you are better than them? You think that just because you didn't betray them, just because you didn't fight them, just because you didn't slander them, just because you think that you're still justified? You know what I mean? Take a look at yourself first. You are just as bad as that person. It don't matter how worse of a sin they make. You are just as bad as them. That's what God does sometimes. Especially with people with pride. People with ego superiority. Sometimes God just gives you the mirror and says, take a look at yourself. You haven't changed. Maybe the reason why that person treated you that way was maybe because of you. That's the topic that nobody wants to touch on because it hurts. It genuinely hurts the heart. Because now they have to self-reflect. They have to self-analyze themselves. I'm like, wait a minute. They have to acknowledge their wrongdoing too. They're pointing at everybody else. He did this to me, he did that to me, she slandered against me, blah, 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 blah. But they don't look at themselves first and realize, wait a minute. I have slandered against this person. Wait a minute. I did this to that person. Wait a minute. I have done the same thing that people have done to me. Remember, You reap what you sow. You reap what you sow. So therefore, if you have slandered against somebody else, if you have talked behind somebody else's back, if you have betrayed somebody, you're gonna get that same treatment from other people. But if you practice the fruits of the Spirit, if you practice love, kindness, self-control, peacefulness, the fruits of the Spirit, then you're gonna get that back. If you go up to a person who is in need, and you see that person in need, and all you have is $10 to $20 left, and in cash, and you were about to buy yourself something, but then you see a person right there in need, are you gonna give that person the rest of your money that you have left and trust in God that He's gonna provide for you because you know that He needs it more than you do? Or are you just gonna walk away? And then when you walk away, and then when that happens to you, you wonder, why? Why did that person walk away in my life? Well, because you reap what you sow. What goes around comes around. That's the truth. That is the truth. But nobody wants to talk about these things, even in church. Why? Because it hurts. The truth is like a sword. It penetrates the hearts of people to force themselves to change, to do the right thing before the eyes of God. But nobody wants to talk about it. Everybody wants to talk about it in a spiritual sense. But what's the point of spiritually talking about certain things if sometimes the most simplest things Jesus talked about wasn't spiritual? It was just, He was telling you to love. That's the gospel. The gospel is the act of love. That was the 10 Commandments. The act of love. The act of grace. The act of kindness. The Bible says that you will know them by their fruits. You will know your friends, your true friends, your real friends that God placed in your life by their fruits. What are the fruits? The fruits of the Spirit. What exactly are the fruits of the Spirit? Joy, peace, love, kindness, self-control. Many more that I can't remember right now. But you get the gist of it. But nobody wants to talk about these things. Some people say life is not all that gray, black and white. It is true. Life is not all that great, black and white. However, we overcomplicate the most simplest things in life for our comfort. We overcomplicate the most simplest things that the Bible said to do for our comfort, to make us feel somewhat comfortable, for our poor decisions, for our wrongdoing, for our unrighteousness. Y'all are not gonna like me after this one. That's the truth. What more is there? What more is there, people?